Okay, cool. I'm excited. So let me share my screen, y'all. I'm super stoked. Um, and we're sharing this guy. Everyone can see the title of the talk. I can't see your chat. Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. I'm gonna stand. I hope that's cool because I'm gonna pretend like I'm actually giving a talk so that I don't, you know, have, weirdness. So okay, so everyone, this is Into the Thick of It. It's an interactive TikTok dancing talk. So I would be so excited if everyone would dance with me. You can turn on your cameras. If you don't feel like it, that's totally fine, but I would love it if you did. It would make my soul smile so much. Um, these are very uh, cool dances. So they're very you can do it sitting down, you can do it standing up, you can do it with any kind of ability that you have. So very low barrier to entry. So super excited. Uh, we're all ready to get started. Cool. So disclaimer, this talk is full of sounds, like a lot of sounds. If you'd like to follow along on your screen on your own, definitely take a screenshot or use your camera for the QR code. And this will be the link to the talk, and you're able to kind of dance along or just kind of look along or whatever you'd like. And I'm also going to talk about the songs as well a little bit so that we kind of have a little understanding of where they come from, because a lot of these songs started off with a lot of Black and brown people. So just want to make sure I give them a shout out too when we're doing this. So let's get started. So this is me. I'm Janelle. Hello. I'm from Florida. I like roller skating. I'm from Power DMS. I'm a UX engineer. I love accessibility. Let's chat. So, yeah, this is my favorite thing to do. I love talking about user experience and accessibility and equitable workplaces and human beings. So excited to be with you all. This song in particular is by Lil Gittens. It's called Zodiac. And in TikTok, people use it a lot to introduce themselves. So I figured this would be a really great way to introduce myself. So if you could drop in the chat just the same kind of things as this. So where you live, what you like, where you're from, what you do, what you love, and what other things, calls to action. Maybe, hey, this is my friend, right? I really liked Tara. Tara's really awesome. Like that would be really cool, right? So yeah, just drop it in the chat for me. All right, are y'all excited to get this is it. We're coming. We're coming to the dancing. All right. So here are the ground rules for these TikTok dances. The very first and foremost thing is we should all participate. And it's totally okay if you don't want to participate with video camera. However, I would, again, be very happy if you did. I'd love you immensely. I also love you if you don't. Totally fine. But we are going to dance together and we're not going to judge each other and we're going to be excited about it. And yeah, so that's rule number one. Number two is there will be icons on the top of the screen that will alert you to the song that we're going to do next. So if there is a heart on the top, that doesn't mean that we're going to do the song right then and there. It means the next slide, we're going to start the dance, okay? So just kind of take a look at the icons and make sure that you know where we are so that you can kind of follow along. And yeah, the third one is to cheer each other on. So if you see other people dancing, I want you to be like, yes, Alex is doing so good. Yeah. Like, I love that. If you're hanging out with someone, like, because you live together in the same place or you're both, doing your thing, then yeah, definitely say that too. Like, hey, my friend Zoe is doing so good at these dances and they're jamming out, right? Like, totally want that for you. And then the last thing that we want to do is make sure that we're learning together, right? So if that's here and that's throughout the DDI camp, that is what we want to do. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we learn to kind of love on accessibility and think about how we're going to create equitable workplaces in the future, right? So after this talk. All right. You ready? This is the stance. Ready? That is the whole dance. It's super fun. I love it so much. It's called L'Ours en Danse. And the title in the title, there's a link to the original creator of the dance, as well as that QR code. So if you want to take a look at it and see what it looks like, the original creator doing it, it is so freaking cool. We'll be using the sound for accessibility wins and probably a little bit of snark because let's be serious, you can't be talking about DEI without being a little salty, So yeah, this is super, super fun to do. Really exciting. When you see this yellow star on the top right of the corner, you know that the next slide is going to be the L'Ours dance, okay? So the next slide here, we're going to learn how to do it together, okay? Alrighty, so this is me doing it without any music. Right? And it's all shoulders. So you're just moving your shoulders up and down and kind of just crossing your hands. And if that means you cross them like this, you cross them like this, or if you just end up doing this and you shrug, it's all good. We're happy, right? Yeah, I see y'all. I love it. So that is an example. Let's see some other people do it too, right? However it works. There's no music. It's okay. You can't be wrong. Yeah, I love it. Y'all are doing amazing. Okay, cool. Next, you ready for the next one? Awesome. So that is that song. It's called The Magic Bomb, also known as the Cutting Song. It initially starts off like this. So it's very like methodical, and then you do the hitting. This one is really, really cool because, going back, very loud. This one was created in China. Can y'all hear me still? So this one was created in China and it has alternate dances. So there are tons of different ways that you can do this. The original was a lot more hand movement, but most people kind of use it this way now, where they just go up and down and they hit their hands, and that's it. So this is typically used to answer some questions. Like now they're kind of tongue-in-cheek questions, right? So that's kind of what we're going to be using it for. It's commonly used in TikTok with underrepresented folks. So you'll see it a lot with disabled folks in the LGBTQIA family, right? So if you take a look at that QR code, you'll see one of the creators who's deaf, and she says, "This is what I hear when, as a deaf TikTok creator." And so it's the entire thing is her dancing with nothing at the top of the TikTok. And it is really just so funny. Like she is just hilarious and love her. Yeah, but so we'll be using this to go over some accessibility facts and be really excited about that. So then we kind of learn facts as we go with dancing. So when you see this blue heart, you'll know it's the Magic Bomb Dance, right? So this is how we're gonna learn it together. This is the dance in half time. So hit, clap, up, down. Clap, up, down. How's it going for everybody? Yeah, this one's a little harder, but again, can still be done like when you're sitting down. You could do it, while you're having some lunch. It is super fun. Love this one. Sometimes I'll just do it in the shower because it's just like, right? It's super fun. Love it. All right. Next one. This is a bonus. Does everyone know this one? Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. So this is a bonus one, and it's only going to happen one time in this entire talk. So I'm super stoked about this one because it's typically used with children and families. So you'll see like a wife or something, and they'll be like, when my husband doesn't like my attitude, but then, he's got now 4 children that have my exact same attitude. And it's super funny how like families kind of joke around with each other like that on TikTok. It's also called the Bow 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 song, which I think is really funny, just the name of it. The whole point of this song is to show your squad or show that you're leaving, right? So like, this is my crew. These are the people that I care about. This is my family. Goodbye, right? Like those are the things. So when you hear this song, let's see if we can hear it again really quick. All right. So I'll go like this, right? And then I want everybody to do it, right? So just like, so we're all just gonna turn around and like, however you want to shake your tuchus, your derriere, if you just do your shoulders, that works too. We're just saying bye, this is my crew and it's going to be super fun and I'm excited. So I think you all look super good doing this, by the way. I just want to let you all know, y'all are killing it. Okay, cool. So are we excited to get this party started? All right. So we are going to try our very first dance together. Okay, we're going to do it without me. Can you do it? All right. Do you see what's on the screen? We got the blue heart. All right. We're coming. We're going to do it. I believe in you all. Let's see if I can open this. Yeah, thank you for helping your friends. Okay. And how did everyone do? Did you do well? Yay! That's so exciting. Okay, do we want to try again? It's okay if you want to try again. We'll try again. We'll do it again. It's fun. I like it. All right. So this is a very tongue-in-cheek question, right? So the question here that would be up in TikTok would say, questions that management ask about accessibility work, right? And so you are describing all of the answers that you would give when they ask you these questions, right? So one more time. Also, if I'm going over time, please someone yell at me because I'm totally fine with that too. All righty. Ready? We can do this. So proud of you. All right. Does anybody need a break? Need a drink of water? We're good? All right. I'm going to take a sip of water just really quick. It's a little rest break there. All right. Cool. So now that we've got all of these, yeah, sure. I can read some of the text out for this slide out loud. So this is a check-in rest break. So just wanted to make sure if anybody needed some time to kind of cool down a little bit after learning these dances, because they're a little tough, right? Alrighty, so next one is what is accessibility? Accessibility is the practice of making your websites usable by as many people as possible. So let's take some time and think about that. As many people as possible. As many people. So are we doing accessibility correctly? Are we making sure that we are reaching as many people as possible? I mean, if you think about that in your own organization, how is that being done? How do you know that you're reaching as many people as possible? Right? It's pretty difficult to know whether or not you're doing that. So what we know, right, is 61 million adults. That is 1 in 4 people in the United States lives with a disability. That's a lot of humans. Like, that is a lot of humans. And this data comes from the CDC from 2018. So could you imagine now with COVID and like long COVID and, you know, just everyday happenstances that happen, like how many more people are disabled, or, you know, even like situationally disabled, right? So feel free to check out the link or the QR code if you want to follow along with the infographic. It does also contain some alt text, so that's super helpful. Some of it is not great. I would just say read like the top half and then the bottom half, be like, oh, this is a little sketch. It's a little sketch just because it says kind of things that are just like, I don't know if we're centering our ableist views first, you know, that kind of thing. So there are also disabled kids under the age of 18 who didn't get to be part of this data set either. So, I mean, for all we know, like that's just so many people who are living with disabilities and we're not reaching out to them, right? They need to be able to use the internet too. I mean, like disabled TikTok is like perfect, right? So they're amazing and wholesome and hilarious. So like, obviously people who, you know, have disabilities want to be on the internet and need to be using the internet, right? Like that's how you get jobs. That's how you have fun. That's how you find love nowadays, right? Like it is literally a human right to be on the internet. Like it's no longer a privilege. It's a human right. And I would love for everyone to just kind of have that sit with them a little bit. Like having the internet is a human right. So how do we kind of, you know, make these products work? Like, let's talk about what it is that we do, right? Like, how do we get accessibility more into the product? Should products just work for our core users? Like, who is your user base, right? So we have personas typically in most companies, right? You'll have designers who say, these are our personas and these are our user stories, right? And that's great, right? But who are they based off of? Do you know those people? Like, are they just arbitrary? Did we pick them from the sky? Don't know, right? Like, that's not something that we typically discuss. So let's say that you work for a company that creates products and accessories for curly hair, right? So we're thinking about it, right? Everybody got that deep down in the brain? All right, cool. I have a company and they sell curly hair products. So if you're thinking about that, right? Your core user is not going to be someone who has straight hair, right? It's not someone who you want to market to. The majority of your users are probably going to identify somewhere between the 3A and 4C type hair. And so for those of you who aren't really familiar with that like terminology, those are curl patterns. So it's a very black and brown people thing. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're gonna be listening to, right? Like, okay, we want women who have these kinds of curl types, right? These curl patterns. Is that it? Is that all that we have as users? Are there other users that want to use our product? What do you think? Type in the chat for sure, because I want to hear what you think, if there are going to be other users that want to use your hair or use your hair products. Ready? Yeah, so there's intersectionality, right? There are going to be so many other people who want to use this product, not just women who have patterned 3A to 4C hair. Like, it's just not, it doesn't make sense to only market to maybe 4 types of people. It doesn't, whew, what? So weird, right? So think about it. There's going to be children who have mixed parents, who have different kinds of curl patterns, right? There are going to be disabled people who really want to use the product. What if your bottle of gel is a squeeze bottle, right? Instead of a tub? How are they going to be able to get their hands in there and actually use your product, right? So if we're not thinking about everybody being able to use our product, then we are completely limiting who can use our product. Why would we do that? So let's do some work, right? This is your in. This is it. Like, this is how you talk to your company and say, hey, hi, project manager, how are you doing? It's Janelle, and I really would like some accessibility in our product. Is that cool? And they're going to say, probably, we don't have that scheduled. It's kind of tech debt. And you say, okay, but listen, what if I told you that if we weren't catering to people with disabilities, right, that we would be losing out on so much money? They're like, well, okay, yeah, but you can't prove that with data. And so you give them the 61 million figure, right? So that's quite literally like if you said, I want my application to work only in the United States of America, right? And that's fine. It is what it is. Like, okay, great. Do you want it to work in all 50 states? Yep, cool. Do you also want it to work in, Guam and Puerto Rico and all those other places? Yep, sure do. Cool. So what if it doesn't work in New York, the entire state of New York? We can live with that, right? Like the project manager will say, we can probably live with that. So what if it also doesn't work in the state of California? It's a little touchy, right? Like, maybe I don't want to do that. And you're like, okay, cool. So what if it also doesn't work in half of Texas? And then they're gonna be like, no, I don't want that. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna fix it? Accessibility. That's how you do it, right? So that's how you get accessibility into your product immediately, is data, data, data. And I know we have a really, really awesome talk either later today or tomorrow that is all about getting your project manager to say yes to accessibility. And I'm so excited to hear it because that is the coolest. So the intersectionality of, accessibility and DEI is so cool, right? No one is just one thing. We are all many things. We have all these ideologies and experiences. I'm very different than Jen, right? And I might be, very similar to Tara. That's just, the way that it is, right? Like we all have different experiences. So what can we do to leverage that knowledge and make our workplaces better, right? Um, that's kind of the quip here. So what you want to do is you want to start asking questions. You want to do it publicly, you want to do it often, and you want to do it with friends. That means your friends on Twitter. That means your coworkers. That means your friends that you hang out with. Ask questions like, is this usable? How would someone who magnifies this screen be able to interact with this page? Can users interact with that form without using a mouse? Is the user created content accessible to other users? That's a huge one. That's a really big thing, right? If you have like user created content, that needs to be accessible too. So would I be able to use this product if I broke my finger? Would I be able to use this product if I broke my hand or my leg, or if I was holding a child, right? These are situational disabilities. And people don't think about that as well. So these are the questions that make your product usable. And we want to be accountable. So hold yourself and your company accountable for prioritizing accessibility. Know your privilege. Everyone has privilege. Most of us are quite privileged to be working in tech and have the ability to work from home or even attend this conference like on a Friday, especially during a pandemic. But it doesn't mean that no one here might not feel financially unstable, right? It doesn't mean that no one here maybe didn't go to school to college even, right? Maybe they're self-taught. We all have these biases and these kind of start that we came from. And we have to make sure that we keep our privilege in check. Another thing is to prioritize the most vulnerable. So Kim Creighton, who is linked in that QR code, is the person to really look towards as an example for this. She actively teaches anti-racism and has an active community on Discord and Twitter, making people uncomfortable, that's the best, right? Making people uncomfortable is what we're all about in diversity and inclusion, right? When dealing with accessibility and disability, we want to make sure we are prioritizing disabled people and disabled users first. So that is how we get to a more equitable workplace, right? If we start with accessibility, which literally impacts everyone, right? Any group can be disabled, every single group. So it doesn't matter whether you're white, you're Black, you're Asian, you have different ideologies. At any given point in time, you can become disabled. So that's something that we really need to think of. Right? So the question here is, how does this relate to your work? Coworkers with disabilities feel welcome and heard. How does this relate to your work? Accessible products are usable products. How does this relate to your work? Empower users to achieve their goals with your product. And how does this relate to your work? It opens the door for more conversations about other inequalities. So if we talk about accessibility, we can talk about race more openly. If we talk about accessibility, we can talk about things like classism more openly. If we talk about accessibility, we can talk about things like ageism way more, adamantly, and not feel like we don't have a place. So I just want to ask you all, how will you make the difference in your company to create a more equitable workforce? How will you make your company more accessible so that you can talk more about inclusion? Definitely message in chat. Would love to hear. All right, and we see that the last icon here. You ready for it? Okay. I'm ready to see some shoulder shrugging and some tuchus shaking, okay? Right? I mean, this is where you gotta be a little salty, right? Because sometimes it doesn't happen. Your company didn't pay for it, but you're like, ugh. So this says when your company didn't pay for your conference ticket, but you went anyway, and you're gonna come back to work ready to do it for the culture. So yeah, love that. So go infiltrate your companies and make sure you prioritize accessibility. Thank you so much. Have any questions?